Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new NVIDIA daily update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over NVIDIA stock. Let's go over what is happening with the stock in the chart. I'll go over my thoughts moving forward and all of that good stuff. So ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy, please don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, if you enjoy my technical analysis, thoughts, etc. on the charts, blah, 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 I do share my thoughts every day. The market is open. The link is down below in the description of the video. So as the stocks are trading, I'm constantly posting updates whenever I obviously think it's something worth updating naturally. For just $3 a month, you get access to all of that information, mainly on Tesla stocks. Sometimes I'll share other stocks like recently Square, Microsoft, etc. Or for $5 a month, you get access to everything I just said, plus my NVIDIA daily updates. And I'm actually putting a lot more focus on NVIDIA right now than I usually do, mainly because I'm actually very interested in this chart. I think this chart is actually setting up pretty nicely right now, and I'm pretty excited for the next few weeks on this chart. I think if things play out as I'm, I don't want to use the word hoping because that implies I'm just guessing, right? But if it plays out the way I'm expecting it to or thinking it will, I guess you can say is a better way to put it. I think this chart's actually getting very nice. It's looking very, very juicy here, and I'm excited. I look at this chart, I get excited, right? I get excited. So let's see how this plays out. But yeah, link is down below in the description for the YouTube membership. I also ended up sharing my game plan on how I plan to trade NVIDIA for the next week or two there as well with my members. So anyway, jumping into it, NVIDIA closing the day up 3% as opposed to Tesla down 3.5%, closing at $134.7 per share, which compared to the market, you can argue is a nice little outperformance today, right? NVIDIA holding up pretty well. So let me go over the things that I really like about this chart. First and foremost, obviously we just had a mini flash crash, we'll just say, in the market, right? The market obviously had a absolutely hideous red candle the past 2 days, and especially the day before that, right, on Wednesday, right? QQQ, SPY, whatever. QQQ is holding much better than SPY, though, in my opinion. But despite this quote-unquote flash crash in the market that we had, right, despite the VIX skyrocketing once again, as per usual, all the way to $30, I think it was up like 70% on that day, NVIDIA barely budged. I like that, right? That to me is amazing. Like, I love to see when a stock like NVIDIA on such days is holding strong, holding very, very strong, and it's even higher than it was those 2 days, right? I like to see that. That to me is very nice strength, very, very reassuring, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Very nice. I like that, right? Very, very good. Now, granted, I want to make it clear, I don't think it's ready yet. I don't think it's, it's still marinating in my opinion, but it feels like the marination process and the cooking process, it's getting to an end, man. It feels like the finish line is getting close. Now, I don't know when the finish line will be. I don't know when the cooking will be done, but man, it feels close, right? And I'll explain why, obviously, very, very soon. But I like the way the stock is looking. I like the way the chart's setting up here. And I think this is setting up for what could be maybe even as early as next week's, but probably heading into January, a pretty nice run, potentially even to all-time highs, maybe even breaking fresh all-time highs. I really believe that becomes the case. And this stock is starting to get quite a lot of attention from me right now because this is finally setting up the way I like to see it. So why is it setting up the way I like to see it? And I'll obviously go over the risks because again, nothing's perfect. This can fall apart. I want to make that very clear. There's still some work to do. It's not done yet. This can still turn pretty bearish. I just don't think it will. Now, why do I like the chart? Let's go over the good news, the bullish perspective, if you will. Well, one of which being, of course, I love the strength that I've seen on NVIDIA the past few days. Very, very nice, very, very impactful. I mean, granted, it has been selling off while the market's been rocketing, but the fact that it's showing this kind of strength while the market started to kind of get almost like a mini correction, if you will, is good. That's step number one. Number two, for the first time, it actually closed within the first red band, right? We've been kind of, getting, for the past like almost 2 weeks, you can see here if I remove market bias, this band has been just constantly rejecting us. And every time we go into it, we just close back down below it, sometimes even well below it. This is the first time we close back into the band. In other words, we reclaim that 8 or rather 9 email. Good. We obviously have some work to do. Above it, on the top of the band, is the 21 email. So not only do I still want to reclaim that, but I also want this band to turn green. Now, those are the next steps moving forward. On top of that, we have my market bias. I also want this to turn green. So there's still work to be done. I want to make it clear. It's not done yet. It's not perfect yet. And we could still sell off a little bit more, right? We could still make our way back down somewhere to about, 130, maybe high 120s again. That still is a possibility. I just want to make that very, very clear. It's not done just yet. But I do feel like as long as NVIDIA continues holding the way it's been holding and these moving averages catch up to us, if not even sooner, really, I think this thing will break out of this essentially descending wedge that we have setting up here. It'll break above these bands and it'll turn it back into a support. And if that happens, and essentially really if NVIDIA pretty much reclaims about the mid 130s, so 135, 136, If I even see that reclaimed, I'm already going to start getting very excited. That's already, to me, going to be a phenomenal sign. Very, very bullish sign. That's number one. That's step number one. But even better will be reclaiming 140. Those are the two major kind of resistance levels, like 135/136 and 140, that I really want to see the stock reclaim one step at a time, right? But even just, again, 135, 136, I think will be very bullish, because that also not only will reclaim the EMA band and the 21 EMA, et cetera, but that will also break out of this essentially, falling or descending wedge that we are in. So that's the first step I'll be looking for. The MACD has been just very, very bloody, just consistently coming down with the stock. It starts to finally curl. If this thing can also cross back to being bullish, and I like the when the MACD crosses bullish when it's down here. I don't really care. I don't like it when it crosses up here. I'm like, okay, it crossed up here, but does that really matter that much? No. I like it when it crosses here. When it crosses down here. If it crosses here, like these are the levels, if you will, where I like to see the MACD cross. This is where I'm getting kind of excited, right? This is where I see the MACD cross, and I'm like, okay, we might be talking here. This might be something, this might be something for sure. So, I see these kind of situations slowly you start developing. I'm getting excited. I am getting excited, right? So again, those are probably the main things I'll be looking for on NVIDIA moving forward. I think the stock has not been participating. Okay, not I think. It hasn't been participating in this market rally that it has been experiencing, right? The market's been pretty much going up like this, you can see, while NVIDIA has been pretty much just going down, bleeding slowly. And I think the giant is, it feels like it's getting ready to wake up soon. It does. It just, again, I don't think it's ready yet. We could still go sideways. I explained my trading plan in my membership section. Link is below. I still think there's a chance that we'd go sideways. Maybe get another rejection at this 135, 136, make our way down, maybe 131, 132, maybe even high 120s. We could still have a bit of a cool off situation. We could still get some sideways action. But again, a reclaim of 135 to 136, daily closures above, breaking out of this downward wedge and turning these bands back into support, I think we have liftoff, and I think we continue higher. Now, let's talk about the risks. Again, I don't want to go all excited here, all bullish on something, and then just to watch it crash and burn potentially, because of course there's always a risk with these things, right? So let's talk about the risk. What is the risk here? What can potentially cause NVIDIA to just completely fall apart and make its way down to my bearish target, which is 115, right? Well, again, if we pretty much lose, in my opinion, so we still have this head and shoulders pattern. Now, I kind of put less thought into this bearish head and shoulders pattern because we've broke below the neckline and we've closed below the neckline twice, arguably, just for today to completely say, nah, never mind. Yeah, I don't know if I put too much weight into this, bearish head and shoulders pattern as much anymore. So the way I'd look at it now, essentially, is, do we lose the channel, the rising channel? That's where things will get a little bit concerning. So essentially, if NVIDIA really goes below 125, 126, something like that, if we start losing that kind of mid 120s rough range, okay, this is not looking as good anymore, right? This is where the risk really starts to kick in. This is where potentially the stock can, actually start getting a little bit bearish, right? And that's not what I'd want to see. That to me will be a bit of a red flag. And I think if we lose this channel and we start falling out and again, pretty much losing the mid 120s, I think the 115 becomes a very realistic target. And again, I'll make it clear, despite my, enthusiasm on the stock, there is a very real possibility still this happens. You'd be foolish to completely exclude this possibility. Absolutely, it's still in the cards. Why? The bands are still red. Despite me thinking and expecting the bands to flip back to green for NVIDIA to, rise out of this descending wedge and to flip those bands back to green. Despite me expecting that, and I don't want to use the word hoping, but I'll just use it for lack of a better word, hoping it happens. It hasn't happened yet. It has not happened yet. There is no confirmation of that yet, despite nice strength and good potential for it to happen. So, again, I should make it clear, that risk is still there. There is absolutely that risk there. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm not excluding it from my observation and, thesis, if you will. So that's probably the main way I'll be looking at NVIDIA moving forward. Taking a look at the weekly chart, the weekly candles, of course, closed. The weekly chart looks, honestly, I think the weekly chart actually looks quite phenomenal. Nice looking doji candle after a massive sell-off for several weeks, shows potential reversal situation happening here. The weekly actually did close above last week's close, not by much, but above is, still good. Nice sign. We're still holding above the market bias on the weekly. We're still holding above even the green band. We're still holding the general green band, which is very good to see. We still are turning this kind of 130-ish resistance before into support, and we're still holding that, which is good. This could even be a massive weekly falling wedge. Also big potential here, right? So there's a lot of good stuff potentially setting up for NVIDIA here to, rocket, honestly, potentially much higher, right? Again, going back to this channel on the daily chart, if this plays out the way I think it will, I think all-time high is easily retest. Like, I think that becomes a no-brainer. But I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if NVIDIA, at the very least, makes its way into the 160s sometime early next year. I really, and when I say early next year, I mean January. That really wouldn't shock me. That becomes a very realistic target if we break out of these bands and if we break out of this descending triangle wedge. So yeah, anyway, that's probably the main thing I'm looking at for NVIDIA. Weekly chart actually doesn't look bad. It looks pretty decent here. If I go over to my bands here, you can see, we were overbought. NVIDIA was very, very overbought back here, cooled off. Actually got overbought the past few weeks near all-time highs over here. You can see, cooled off. And what did it do? It reverted right back to the mean, to the white line, and then held above it. So I don't know. I look at these kind of situations right now, and I like it. Right now, the MACD, of course, is with the bearish flip, not ideal. Stochastic with the bearish flip, not ideal. So again, there's still concerns. It's not perfect, but it's not a bad look either. It's not a bad look either. And I would even argue it's a slightly better look than it is not. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's closer to a bottom than it is to a top, in my opinion, as it stands right now. Things can change, but I really want to see some strength start to show for NVIDIA soon. I really want to see these bands turn back to green, and I really want to see that happen. Could be next week, could be even the week after. I don't know exactly when, but yeah, overall, good luck. I'm excited, and let's see what happens. So moving over to the options flow, the bulls are definitely stepping in and crushing the bears once again. Nice bullish flow overall throughout the day compared to the bears. No major flow, right? Just a lot of kind of smaller, if you will, flow, right? I don't really see any major like crazy ones that I usually see on NVIDIA. So, that is something to note, I guess. But it is the second most confirmed bullish flow for the day at 30 million. Pretty good. Not too bad at all. So let's see how this plays out. I'm bullish. I think it looks pretty good. Still needs a bit more confirmation, of course. I wouldn't say it's ready just yet, but it does feel like it's getting there. So essentially the way I'm doing it is any dips back down to the mid to high 120s, I will continue buying. That's just that simple. I will continue buying those dips, and yeah, let's see what happens. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on Monday. Peace.